Homelessness is a national problem. We have folks in shelters and on the streets across the country. In Austin, Texas, we're not unique. Our numbers are consistent with the subpopulations that you find across the country.
What got me homeless is that he decided he didn't want to be married anymore. And he left, and that made me homeless. So I was staying on the streets.
So when we see folks living on the street, we often ask our question, what can we do? How can we help them? And what, as a community, we're faced with is how do we afford to help them? And what we don't realize is that homelessness has a price tag. Not only are we leaving out individuals from our society, but we're paying higher dollars in health care. Homeless folks usually don't have a doctor. They go to the emergency room.
It's a very expensive way to deliver health care, and it's not effective for the individual, and it's not efficient for the system or the community, and the community pays for it.
Homeless folks often get in trouble for being homeless, and so they end up in court.
60% of the cases that are filed here are associated with homeless individuals. So I think that the problem is just going to become greater and more difficult to deal with as it becomes larger than will be possible to deal with.
So we're spending the money in the emergency room and in the county jail and in our ambulance services, etc., when we really could be using that money to provide dignified housing for folks.
So faced with a homeless population that's living in shelters and on the street, we want to implement PSH, and that stands for Permanent Supportive Housing. It's permanent because it's leased-based. These residents will live in efficiency in small apartments with a lease. And it's supported because we will make sure that they are tied to services that they need to stay housed, like healthcare, job training, and education.
When we started putting permanent supportive housing in our communities, the neighbors were concerned. They were worried about those people. What are they going to do to our neighborhood? And what we have found is our PSH residents, they bring so much quality to every single one of our communities. They are people that are so grateful to have a home. They're amazing neighbors. I have less issues from residents with our PSH clients than I do our regular rental people.
PSH is actually a good business proposition too. These clients are more valuable than others because they come with rents paid and with case management, which means a support system for a client or a resident who often wouldn't have one.
I'm 50 years old now, and I just got into a place Front Step helped me, and I've only been there for 6 months now. And it's a very nice place, a very good community. It's my place, I live there, and I have to be responsible enough to keep it. And that's what I like about Front Step, and it's a very good program. I'm not homeless anymore, and it's wonderful.
What we see, both anecdotally and in studies, is that the crime rates at supportive housing projects are actually lower than the norm. The Furman Center at NYC did a study on property values, looking at thousands of supportive housing units over 20 years. And what they found was that not only did property values not decrease, but they increased more relative to other similar tracts.
We want to prevent and end homelessness. We're done just managing it. And evidence from around the country tells us that permanent supportive housing is an effective way to do this.
The indignity of homelessness is really an indignity that reflects on the entire community. So when we have citizens that are able to move into housing, to regain some sense of stability and control over their lives, I think that dignity extends to us all as a community.
I see every day the way that PSH changes lives and stabilizes people that otherwise would not have safe, decent, affordable housing.
Being homeless was really hard, but I'm not homeless anymore, and this program really helped me a lot. I mean, it's been wonderful.